This is James's vegan falafel platter. I don't have any pita or anything, so that's mine. And I'm having some hot or beet hot chocolate, and we're having grapefruit for dessert. And it looks like James has some books to review.
Yeah, I was mentioning them earlier. I'm just going to show them. And for entertainment, we've got a few dogs out here.
We do.
Yeah.
Because they don't want to go back in.
They don't want to go back in. Angel had to go. Paris did go back inside.
Yeah,
she was the main one I was worried about. She said, I think she got a bit of a chill last night, so she's been peeing a lot, inside, outside, wherever. Mainly inside. Yeah, one of the other dogs peed on her, and then she slept on the floor. I think that gave her a chill.
I'll just move this a little bit.
Hey, Oak. This is Opie. He's our best dog right here.
Right now he is.
Yeah. He used to pee on the sofa.
He's being very good right now.
Now it's mainly just outdoors.
And right now this is our favorite tomato, cherry number 9.
Cherry number 9. Yeah, there we go. I think anyone has no one has a proprietary interest in that name, do they, so far as we know?
Well, that's their name. That's this type's name.
It's not someone doesn't have a copyright on it, right?
It's their tomato. That's what this tomato type is called.
Is it a compliment, or that's what I'm asking?
Oh, no, it's a tomato type.
Exactly.
Okay.
So we don't have to worry about mentioning it.
I baked the falafels. So I was baking some potatoes for these guys, for James. And the falafels, they're not going to be as good baked. They're going to be healthier.
Yeah. Slammed some carrot juice down.
Good.
And this is the grapefruit that we're going to have to eat, as it's borderline. How about you guys? Borderline? You starving there? You don't look as though you're starving. Well, Angel does. Come here, Angel. Show yourself to the camera here.
No,
this is Angel. She looks like an angel, as I've said before, but boy, oh boy, she's already had a few escapades involving her bladder inside today. And there's no excuse for it, because I've been cuddling with her pretty consistently for quite a while I've been reading a few things. Okay. Yeah, there's so much stuff here. I don't know where to start. So I think I'll start with, before I get my hands clammy with food and stuff like that. I was mentioning earlier today, I don't know if you'll see this stuff in the room. So this is one of the things I'm working on. I'm working through it slowly. Relatively surely though. Alexander Solzhenitsyn. Eerste Kruis, the Hera, and then the first circle of hell. And yes, it is a reference to Dante. I hope some of you folks got the reference. I'm not so sure if the full Gauchos would get that much of it. The first circle of hell, they're really concerned. They know about the circles of hell because Dante consigned Muhammad down to the 8th circle of hell, and that wasn't even the lowest circle of hell. So, you know, some people get exercised about that. It's all work of imagination. You know, like Dante wasn't, he's not at the right hand of God, directing God where to go. You know, like Muhammad died well before he did. Dante died 1321 and Muhammad died 632. I think those are exact dates for both of them. So Dante died almost 700 years later. So God would have handled whatever, you know, Allah or whatever someone wants to call him, Elohim, Yahweh, Jehovah, whatever, he handled Muhammad's ashes well before Dante ever came along. So whatever Dante thought and wrote doesn't make a hell of a beans of difference, you know. So people who get all exercised about it, they should get that, you know, actual real things to worry about. Dante was writing a work of imagination, you know, like it's fiction. So, you know, but oh my God, that's awful. It's like a fucking war crime. Sorry about that, cussing on camera, but I find some of these aggressive propagandists really hard to take.
Yeah.
So this is a signed reading, okay, for four gauches. Pretend like Edward Said was, not is, died I think 2003, to really believe in the testimonial literature. So Hanif Qureshi, he's really important. It's more important to read him, at least according to one of my sources, than to read the Quran. Because that person refuses to read the Quran, and yet he's recommending to me, I mean, like really, well, now for the testimonial literature. He's really mad, hopping mad, in this Hanif Qureshi, a short story. A short story out pulls the foundational document for as far as he's concerned. I'm a little skeptical, maybe just a slight bit cynical about the whole thing, but yeah. So here's a little testimonial literature. First circle of hell. This is for people who actually had some skills for the so-called Soviets. They didn't all put them into labor camps, like these guys are like scientists and engineers and stuff like that. So that's why it's the first circle of hell, and not down deep in the hell. No, down deep in hell. They talk about the people at the end of a pick. That's awful. Right? The end of a whole
I'm not
pick
giving
is
this to you.
So
Don't get this.
this is a required reading, but much more required reading. Now read it in the Russian, okay, as I am. Just because I'm reading in German and English doesn't mean I'm not reading in Russian. Yeah, it's a sign in the Russian. Teach yourself some Russian. Teach yourself some stuff. Oh, and by the way, Gulag Archipelago, or Gulag Archipelago, as it's been translated in English. That's the real required reading, because that's the real testimonial literature, not some work of fiction by Solzhenitsyn. I believe it's 3 volumes. That's how many I read back in the day, back in about 1974, somewhere around there. I think it was published 73, 72, somewhere around there. I slogged my way through it. It made for depressing reading. Around the same time I was reading in 1984, and I'd just taken the geography of the Soviet Union. It was all very interesting. It's too interesting. It's like someone said, may you live in, it's kind of like a curse, may you live in interesting times. Well, like there's interesting places. The Soviet Union. What am I going to be calling it now? Because we've been talking about truth and reconciliation and stuff like that. And truth is important. Was it a union? Well, I mean, it was hammered. Sickle hammered on people. Boom, 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 boom. Unions maybe, I don't think it's really willing. It's not like the United States kind of where. Let me see. Soviet. Well, they're anti-Soviets. They made sure that they didn't get Soviets. The workers. They knew they wouldn't be controlling the unions and stuff like that. So they made sure they controlled the unions by non-democratic means. Soviets are kind of like workers' councils. Union and Soviet socialists, well, they're not socialist. I mean, I believe that socialism should be basically just sharing of power. But the welfare state, it's just, hey, let's share goods. But we don't necessarily have to share power. And with the commies, of course, is share power. What's that about? We all know all about power, but sharing it, no. Union of Soviet Socialist Republics. So I'm going to call them anti-social, not really anti-socialist, because there are these two different ideas of what socialism should be, and almost everyone thinks it should be like a welfare state where you take from the hard-working and give to the, well, in some cases, people who can't work, but in too many cases, I'm afraid, it's people who won't work. So yeah. So it's There's a funny thing in here where he's making fun of from each according to his abilities, to each according to his need. Like yeah, people who go blithering that kind of Marxist nonsense are beyond the pale in the Russian context. I'm not talking about Ireland. You check that up, what it means in the Russian context, okay? Beyond the pale. And the equivalent in Ireland would have to be within the pale. People weren't so nice. Union of Soviet Socialist Republics. So we've dealt with what we're going to call the Union as an empire. It's a Russian Empire Mark II, or 2.0. Okay. The empire of anti-Soviet, anti-social, because what they are they'll pick out certain classes, and they really pick on them. The more confident farmers they called kulaks. Yes, they were, to a large extent, maybe almost like genocided. Like if you take on it's not just genocide, it's not just nations and religions, it's any group, and they, to a large extent, genocided the kulaks, the more competent farmers. The way they said it, the richer farmers, the ones who own land. I don't think they were terribly well off, mostly. Some of them would have been, but they weren't aristocrat. Yeah, but problematic. A nice commie word, that one. Who was it who came up with that? Althusser? Nice commie of Frankfurter School. the Wiener School. Bunch of wieners in the Frankfurter School. That's what I'm going to call it. What is it? Adorno, Althusser, some of those pukes. We'll be talking more about them when we're talking about Edward Said. His stuff is just pullulating. Check that up in your funk and wagon. And I said funk, okay? I didn't say funking. But check that out. Pullulating with the names of these commies. Gramsci, Antonio Gramsci. That's one of his favorites. And then he throws in a whip freak. Like his two big influences, at least early on, according to his own account, were Gramsci, a commie, head of the Communist Party during the Stalin era. Stalinist era. Head of the Communist Party. And you got all sorts of people at universities. They're Gramscian. Well, they're just commies. And, or else fellow travelers.
Maybe shouldn't sit under the apple tree.
Yeah, maybe not. Don't sit under the apple tree. Anyway, it could come down. It has come down in Tombstone so far. And then, amongst all these commies, he throws in a whip freak, like Michel Foucault. And brutal whip freak, the kind of guy who fantasized about having orgies where people committed collectively, maybe even mass suicide. And then he got HIV, and then he got AIDS. Am I following the right procedure, the politically correct one? HIV and AIDS, and he was banging and slanging in group sex, even after it was obvious he had AIDS. And I said to a faux gauche, agreeing basically, but who's been fooled by these idiots. That he was homicidal, suicidal mania. Oh, that's over the top. He wasn't homicidal. even though he's going around, he knew he had AIDS, and he's passing it around. Lord knows how many people, good people, with who couldn't control their zippers and stuff like that, but hopefully once they got AIDS, weren't going around killing people the way that Foucault was. If you kill someone, but you don't do it, to kill them specifically, but just so you can have pleasure. Like it would be like someone who, rapes someone, but doesn't get the thrill out of killing them, but kills them anyway, so that they can, aren't identified or something like that. That's it's still murder. It's because you don't get a thrill out of it. So he's getting a thrill out of having this group sex and stuff like that, and it ends up with people dying. He knows it's going to happen. It's not like manslaughter. It's not like, wow, like I was kind of negligent or something. I should have known better. Maybe it is. I don't know, but I consider that murder. And I always have. I'm not picking on Foucault. Since the 80s, mid 80s, when it was evident that some people knew they had AIDS, were going around spreading around the gospel. I just said they should be charged with murder. And one guy saying, well, that they're going to die anyway. And I'm going, well, their palliative care should be in a jail. That's simple. So nowadays, I suppose it's a little bit different now that they got AZT or something, whatever. Anyway, I was trying reading. Read some of this stuff, Gulag Archipelago. Edward Said doesn't he's not terribly enthused about George Orwell.
Really?
Yeah. Well, Edward Said, I think, had it bad. I don't think he was a fellow traveler. He seems like a common. He didn't talk about it much, but all the idiots he's quoting, he wasn't for the peace process under Clinton. He was telling the Palestinians, that's what, I think it was Rabin and Arafat, Terror-fat as I call him, because he was fat and he was into terror. But he was telling them the Palestinians to keep on fighting. And then he's going, I was mentioning earlier, he was comparing himself to Salman Rushdie. I don't know if Salman Rushdie is telling people to go on fighting. And I don't think Salman Rushdie, Edward Said belonged to the Palestinian Liberation Council or something like that. I don't think Salman Rushdie's that heavily into politics. He's still alive. So he's going around saying, I get death threats. I've got this book that has a list. It's a Time Almanac, a list of, back in 2007 or thereabouts, of the terrorist organizations, organizations that have been declared terrorist by the U.S. State Department or whatever. And, there's a bunch of Muslim ones, a bunch of commie ones. It's mainly Muslim. And then they throw in a Jewish one for good measure. What they're for threats. Threats of violence. Which is serious stuff. It's catch, it's called. I think it's the Kahane something or other. It's serious stuff. And perhaps they should be called terrorists, but it's just junior league by comparison with, you look at what these Muslim groups, Muslim Brotherhood people are going to say, wow, they're okay dudes. Hamas, you get Jeremy Corbyn saying, our friends in Hamas. Jeremy, buddy, these you wouldn't even call them frenemies, okay? If they control the world or control England, wherever you're at, and we're confronted with I presume you're something like an atheist or agnostic, they'd kill you. They would kill you. They would kill any gay they could get hold of. Friends? But friends like that, what did they say? Yeah, Corbyn. The working man's friend. I'm a working man. And with a friend like you, again, I don't need you know what. So yeah, these are your assignments. Gulag Archipelago, first circle. Read all the stuff. There's a lot of stuff there, but you put something in between your ears instead of that empty space, you faux gauchers. Faux gauches. Okay, that's enough.